Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna. I hope that you're having an amazing day. Chances are, if you clicked on this video, you're either going through a quarter-life crisis yourself or think you're going through a quarter-life crisis yourself and you're wondering, what the hell do I do now? And so I wanted to create this video to A, let you know that you're definitely not alone in this. I am 100% going through it myself, and I wanted to help outline some kind of key points of what it means to be going through one. So maybe if you think you are, you can define it for yourself. Thirdly, I wanted to show you some tips and tricks on how I am helping myself get through this very turbulent period of my life. So if this is something you're interested in, definitely please keep on watching. So first of all, let's define what the heck is this quarter-life crisis. So there are a few key points to keep in mind. First being age. Typically the age bracket of a quarter-life crisis is somewhere between the ages of 25 to 30. Obviously this can vary by a year or two before or a year or two after, so it's not like an exactitude, but typically the age that you start to kind of feel these quarter-life crisis feelings is somewhere between 25 to 30. Now what those feelings entail is kind of like this feeling of purposelessness and feeling lost and trapped. Either trapped in a current position, meaning you are in this job and you know how to do it, your degree is in it, and you thought it's what you wanted to do, but now you're not so sure. Or trapped out of, meaning you are, looking for a new job, or you recently graduated and you want to apply to these jobs, but you're finding out that maybe you don't fully qualify, or the typical, like, they require a bachelor's and 5 years of work experience, and it's like, okay, how do you manage to do that and then only pay like $13 an hour? Yeah, it's kind of along the lines of that. So those are kind of like the typical symptoms. Obviously things will vary to and from, but typically that's how you know you're kind of in the middle of it. Overall, there's this question of, what am I doing and what do I want to be doing? And do those two align? There was a recent study done in 2015 by Dr. Olivia Robinson, and she actually outlined how the quarter-life crisis is actually a phenomenon that's on the rise between millennials, especially in the 21st century, because of this kind of shift from the traditional adult outline that was used by our parents and grandparents, and how it doesn't really fit in this age of the 21st century, because a lot of different factors have changed. How many students are going to college and completing their 4-year degree, the salary, and whether or not it has risen with inflation. So can you afford to live outside of your parents' home and with the chosen career that you are in? And women especially have a lot more to deal with, because now they have the freedom to either pursue a career and go down that road, or making these choices of, do they want kids, do they want to get married, and just this freedom of choice really does exacerbate this feeling of, what the heck am I going to do? And so because of that, Robinson says that she proposes that actually the whole quarter-life crisis is going to become so commonplace in the kind of adult realm of 25 to 30. And she outlined 5 different phases that you go through when you're going through this quarter-life crisis. The first one being phase 1. Phase 1 essentially looks like you are working and you suddenly just feel like this trappedness. You feel trapped in the choices that you have made, whether it's a relationship, the job that you're in, the place that you're living, just in general, the overall lifestyle you're in, you feel suddenly trapped in. Phase 2 kind of looks like this kind of urgency of, I've got to get out of this and I don't know how. So it's kind of like this urgency of, okay, I really hate this and I want to quit my job like today. But phase 2 and phase 1 you could kind of go between a little bit, and then phase 3 is the end of the commitment. So whether it's you break up with a long-term partner, you end up quitting your job, or you end up ending a lease. It's the ending of a commitment that initially made you feel trapped. And it's usually followed by this kind of phase of introversion, Robinson says. Typically after you end the commitment, you kind of retreat from the world and you start really reflecting on what it is that you want. Phase 4 is kind of putting the outline together of taking the steps that you want to in order to maybe get into the field that you want to get into, or getting closer to finding a partner that resembles the type of relationship that you want. And then phase 5 is where we all want to be, which is the development of these new commitment. So it's the, the actual pursuit of a higher degree. It is the entering of a new job or a new relationship. It's the start of those new commitments that align your passion and aspirations together. You may be wondering, okay, how long does it take to get from phase 1 to phase 5? Because I am so over it, right? Typically, Robinson says, these crisis episodes can last anywhere from a year to a couple of years. So if you feel like you have been going through this quarter-life crisis for what feels like forever, that's because they kind of do last a while. So now that you know you're gonna be in it for a while, you're probably going, what the heck do I do? And here's what I did, or am doing. The first is I reevaluated my anxiety. So I looked at what was making me feel trapped, and I asked myself if it was an own personal goal or reason, or was it societal pressure. And I think the majority of you will agree with me when I say it's a little bit of a mixture of both. And for me, in regards to my career, the anxiety is definitely on what I want to do next. Do I want to pursue freelance full-time? Do I want to go back to school and go into child psychology? If so, like where do I want to go for that? And what do I need to do for that? There's just a lot of different options that I'm playing with. And I think that's probably the case for a majority of people, right? The options are endless and paralyzing, but also, it's also freeing in that sense. The next step that I did was I outlined my skill sets and what transferable skills I had that I could apply into whatever fields I'm thinking about going into career-wise. So what I did was I looked at everything that I know that I can do and I can do well, or that I have knowledge in, and I looked at what fields play into that. And that is a really great way of looking at what it is that you know you can do, but also finding a field that you have interest in. So it's marrying those two things together. It's mixing what you know you can do with what you'd like to do and finding a possible job out of that. And then from there, it's just about doing the research to figure out how to get there. Are there degree requirements that you need to fulfill? Is there work experience that you need to fulfill? If so, is there a way to do that and get paid? Is there like some type of loophole? It takes time to research that. So definitely don't rush the research part. Now, if it's in regards to dating, it's just about like I said, really fine-tuning that list of characteristics you're looking for, what it is that you bring to the table, and not and just finding those boundaries within a relationship dynamic that you know you want to stick to. The next step is actually, kind of giving yourself time. It takes time. There is no by now I should. I think that's like the lie that we tell ourselves and we believe, especially in a world of social media where all you see is everyone's accomplishments and none of the failures, which is purposeful. No one wants to share that stuff. But just because you see that someone has bought in a house recently, it doesn't mean that they're not swimming in personal debt. It doesn't mean that they're not absolutely at the end of their rope with their relationships. We paint a perfect image of our lives. We're all guilty of doing it. And you never truly know what's behind all of the images. And I know that we hear that all of the time and we tell ourselves that, but it's really hard to kind of believe it in our brain. But I think that what's adding on top of all this pressure is that social media really does make it feel like you're somehow behind in life because you see other people reaching milestones that you want to reach and just haven't yet. Keyword, you haven't yet. Not that you won't, but you will. It's just in your own time and taking the steps to get there. There's no rush to the finish line. There is no finish line in life except, you know, death, which is morbid, but there is no, you know, race to the finish line. Everyone gets there at their own time. So definitely stop telling yourself, I should be there by now, by now, by now. Cut it. There is no by now. There just is now. So these are the steps that I'm taking, and I'm definitely not fully through this whole quarter life crisis. I'm definitely still figuring stuff out, and it's totally normal to take the time to do that. And I think it's fair and such a privilege to be able to do that. There are so many people in this world that, you know, don't get the privilege to decide what they want to do. They just have to get a job and work it because they need to survive. And so I understand that I'm in a place of privilege, and I'm grateful for that. Doesn't make it any less hard to kind of be in this quarter life crisis, but I think that, you know, we'll come through it in the end, and I'll pop back in a couple years time to kind of show the other side of it. Phase 5, if you will. So I hope that you got something out of this, and if you are currently going through a quarter life crisis or have gone through one recently, leave what the tips and tricks down below on what helped you through it or what is helping you get through it. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. I think it'd be really interesting to get your perspective, and know that you're definitely not alone in this. I've talked to so many people about it. Everyone in this age range is kind of going through it, so you're not alone. That's why I made this. So no shame in this weird game. But thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you're not subscribed, press the red subscription down below. It would mean the world to me. Hit the notification button so that way you always know when another video is out. And by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, you definitely should. I'll leave it here. I post pretty often on there, especially on stories. It's my jam, and you'll get to see more daily Korea content if that's something you're interested in. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you once again so much for watching, and bye!